recognized as a global leader in high performance training with a passion for inspiring others to stand out in how they work and live. He is highly recommended by corporate CEOs, fundraising executives, collegiate, professional, and conference event planners all over the country. A truly inspiring person and one of the best motivational speakers with the most encouraging experiential stories for overcoming obstacles, perseverance, and dealing with life's challenges. Sanjay has been a heartful meditation practitioner and facilitator for more than 3 decades. He was the lead motivational speaker for Youth 2.0, a global virtual retreat where he shared his views and thoughts on building an ecosystem of service and how the youth can contribute to it. Thousands of youth from worldwide joined the talk and got together to interact with him virtually. He has always also been invited to speak at several web conferences and has also participated in a panel discussion on consciousness shift in global leadership at impact of the Leadership 21 conference in United Nations Plaza in New York. So he is here to inspire us all today and get us out of our own little universe that we are in. Join me to find out why and how. Welcome, Sanjay. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rini. Thanks for a nice introduction. Too many words, though, too many lines. I don't know, but they're all true. That I can say, but beyond that, I don't know. Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad to be talking to you all uh, about or from our or through our MSIS platform today about today's topic. That is, the world does spin, but not around you. I don't know how many of you really have heard about this term. So let me show you. I'll be kind of switching back and forth from a presentation mode and also talking to you and all. So let me first share a presentation, a slide. I hope you can all see that. And this is the topic of today's discussion or talk. The world does spin, but not around you. We are going to be talking about self-centeredness, the journey from self-centeredness to centering the self. I don't know how many of you really know about self-centeredness. There's a cartoon I had seen recently. I really like that. It says, did you ever wonder what people did, especially the self-absorbed kind of people did, before Facebook or other social media channels were there to show how great they are? I mean, what did they do? I'm sure they found a way. I mean, they perhaps had phone calls or newspapers or other means of getting their whatever hidden agenda or things they wanted to get out. I'm sure they had, but I think that it's surprising, right? I mean, it makes you wonder, how did it? You know, that I was thinking about this when I saw this cartoon. Then I remembered an incident which happened a few years ago when I was at an airport. And I think, that it was, Missouri airport or somewhere. There was a big line. I mean, flight got canceled due to some snowstorm or something. And there was a huge line of people. And there was one agent trying to rebook all of them to a later flight. I'm sure that many of us would have experienced that during the normal times, not now. I mean, now perhaps there are different problems, but I'm sure familiar sight, some rain, storm, something, flight got canceled, people are standing in line. There's one agent trying to rebook everyone. And there's one guy who just came to this agent. He said, I need to be rebooked on this next flight right away, right now. She said, sir, you see the line. That's what I'm doing for everyone. I mean, can you just stand in the line? I mean, I'll take, believe me, I want to make sure everybody reaches their destination. He said, do you know who I am? And I'm sure we all have experienced that many times, right? Many places, especially in India, if I can kind of make that judgment. People coming to you and say, do you know who I am? I mean, so that guy said, do you know who I am? And I still remember to this day that agent's response. Oh, yeah. She just immediately took the paging system mic. She said, ladies and gentlemen, May I have your attention, please? I need, I'm paging for to find a doctor or a psychologist to come to gate number this, and this, because we have a person here who's really lost. He doesn't know who he is. And it was really funny. I mean, I think she made that announcement a couple of times, and the guy's face was red. I mean, she said, "Here's a person who's lost, and he doesn't know who he is." So I think that's a perfect example. Why I'm telling that example is when we talk about self-centered people, people who only think about themselves, who think they are the most important in the world, or in other words, they think in double quotes or capital letters: I, me, and myself. In case you have seen that movie. So I think that's we're going to talk about that phenomena, or that uh, let me see if I can share my screen again. Okay, that phenomena, or that kind of behavior that people have. Now, one thing is that it is not really that sorry, self-centeredness is something to some degree we all have. I mean, all of us have some kind of self-centeredness in a way that is needed. I mean, it is there inherent in all of us. But we are not going to talk about an extreme form of self-centeredness, which is also called NPD. They call narcissistic personality disorder, where a person is all the time is thinking about themselves, that the whole world is out to get them. They really need to be in treatment. I mean, we in India, we say famously, the Agra or other kind of mental institutions which are there. It's not funny. I mean, it's a serious problem that a lot of people do have that narcissistic personality disorder. But that is one extreme. We're not going to talk about that. And of course, some basic stuff we all have. But in between is what can create a problem for each one of us. And that's what we need to find ways to rise ourselves above out of. And that's what we want to cover this. And why do we need to cover this? Because self-centeredness can create health problems for you. They say that 75% of all psychosomatic, or all sickness, 75% of all sickness is psychosomatic. Psych is, mind, somatic is body. So it is mind body kind of sickness, combination of body and mind. It's not just body, 75%. So people who have self centeredness can face things like migraines. Not that everybody who has migraine is self centered. I don't want you all to think that, but often it happens like that. An example could be somebody said something to you and you're thinking too much about it. It means you're thinking too much about yourself, your impact, the impact it had on you. Why didn't I say this? Why it happened to me? Why? And that kind of constant loop, negative loop that is there in your mind can make you have migraine headaches. People have acid reflux, heart attacks, high blood pressure. Even they're saying some forms of cancer are related to the degree of self-centeredness a person has. Not all. So again, it's not that everybody who has cancer is self-centered. Not like that. So please don't mistake me. It is that this kind of behavior traits have possibility of either aggravating the condition you have or causing some of those. And that's why we need to treat. So I thought in the next to make it a little bit fun, I'll just talk about some scenarios with you that will help you identify what self-centeredness means. Now, I'm sure this is a common thing in many households: family dinner or cyber cafe. Everybody is sitting around looking at their phones. I must tell you that I am also guilty of doing that at times, but I can also share with you all personal from personal experience that I have a son who makes sure that I keep my phone down, whenever we are sitting on this. But I know it's very tempting, but these are very familiar sights, right? I mean, these days in every household, you look at a restaurant, you're sitting and everybody is checking their phone. I mean, sometimes I've seen even in business meetings, two people come and meet, and then they're both checking their phones. And then why do you take all the trouble to travel? I'm again talking about BC, before Corona days, to travel to a place, sit around across the table to talk, and then checking your phone. But I think that's definitely a case of self-centered behavior, where we think this what people are trying to tell me at this time is more important than the person sitting in front of you. See, these self-absorption technologies, to me, all these social media channels. Now, they are good ways of communication. They have all made our world looks smaller. I mean, this is, you cannot really say, oh, let's drop everything. I know one person who just recently deleted WhatsApp on his phone, but it's okay. But he at least has other means of communication. So he felt that WhatsApp was really getting to his nerves. Now, I mean, I'm glad he did that, because it means he made an effort to come out of that. Before he got sucked into it, he made an effort to come out of it. But all these things, I call them self-absorption technologies, because in a way, they make you think that these things are more important than people around you, than nature around you, than other things that you should actually indulge in. Or it makes you uh, unnecessarily indulge in your thoughts, your actions, more than you should. I mean, we all have seen on social media, people say, having coffee in my porch, or having drink here, checking into this restaurant, as if the whole world is just waiting to know about this. I remember there was some kind of plugin in Facebook some time back, and even if people will go to a mall, they say, oh, I went to a mall here, this place, and I'm eating pizza here. As if the whole world is just has nothing to do but to just watch them eating pizza, or want to know that they are eating pizza at this place. I think it's that overindulgent in these self-absorption technologies. To me, also is a sign of self-centeredness. And then I think, I mean, I just thought I'll give an example. In fact, in one of the slides, I changed the name to Joe or Sumit the Bragger. Just a name. I mean, please don't. If your name is Joe or Sumit, don't mistake me. I'm not talking about you. But these are the characters we all have seen in our lives, and some of it we may also have that in us. You may have seen a person, a friend, or a colleague, or even maybe your supervisor or not. He just comes to you and he just starts talking about himself. Oh, whom he knows, what he has done, what he knows, what he did, what he bought, where he went. And they just, and towards the end, they say, now I think enough about me. Tell me a bit about yourself. A classic case of self centeredness. After spending 15 minutes talking about themselves, they just give you a small break. Okay, give me a small statement or sentence about yourself. That's, I mean, those kind of characters are perfect cases of self-centeredness. And some of it we all have. I mean, other example I feel is in one meeting, I remember somewhere I was, and the person, as soon as, and it was in US, in California. We all sat, and the person just took his new latest iPhone and the keys of his new Porsche car, and put it on the table. And everybody, oh, you have a new iPhone and you have a Porsche car. I mean, these kind of show off things, and in I grew up in Delhi. In Delhi lingo, we say tadi baj, right? The guy who is actually showing off. Those are because they think of things they have done to be more important than people they are with, than the moment they are spending. To me, that's a classic case of this. Other case I would say is, again, I remember from my early days here in US, when my son was, I think he was in third or fourth grade. He was a plumpy guy, I mean, plumpy kid actually at that time. Now he's very thin, or slim rather. I mean, those days he used to be a plumpy little kid, and I mean, he was not athletic at all. And I remember he went for some kind of swimming competition, and or some other competition. I mean, he used to go to many such things, and every time, whether he wins or not, he used to get a trophy. And in a way, I mean, and he used to feel very good about it. Now I don't blame him for it, because it was not his fault. That's kind of, but to me, everybody is a winner when we create this kind of environment where everybody has to have something. Of course, it is done to make sure the people who lost or people who didn't win don't feel bad. But at the same time, this is another case of self-centeredness where we want to be recognized every time that everybody is a winner. I mean, we are not able to accept that somebody else could be better than us. Something that my mentor, Daji of Heartfulness, often says that always think whenever you are participating in any activity that there's no competition but yourself. You have to do better than what you did yesterday or the day before, than better than somebody else. You are not competing with others, competing with yourself of yesterday. In anything, in your behavior, in your speech, in your whatever you're doing at any given moment. I felt that to be a very good way to help us rise above this feeling of self-centeredness. So anyway, that's something I just thought I'll give you some scenarios to recognize self-centered behavior. And it's because it's very important to know at what moment we are exhibiting that so we can correct it. Of course, we're going to talk about other ways of correcting it as well. So I think I've already talked about psychosomatic disorders, anxiety, depression, panic. I mean, these are classic cases of, classic symptoms of self-centeredness or classic results of self-centeredness, which shows up as I said, migraine, high blood pressure, acid reflux. I mean, those are, thinking too much about yourself or impact of things on yourself. So at this stage, I thought, let's kind of have a fun game over Menti. Uh, so I think if our team can share the Menti, some questionnaire with you, that will be great. Shantanu, are you ready? So we're going to just share some questionnaire with you. And if you all can answer using Menti, basically what you have to do is go to menti.com, and use the code 276591. And if people, those who are joining via Zoom or any other means can also do the same, that will be great. Just go to menti.com and use the code 276591. So the question is, how often do you find yourself taking care of everything at home, college, work because you find others undependable or inefficient? I don't know whether it is working or not. Okay, some people are answering. Always, sometimes, rarely. Just remember this, the answer that you have given. I mean, it's slowly tricking in. Sometimes, always, rarely, sometimes is more. Okay. And just remember your answer. I'll just talk about some of these things. Here, what it means is really that if you are doing that always, right? I mean, think of this kind of as the highest mark. Rarely is the lowest mark, right? Okay, Shantanu, we can go to the next one. Otherwise, I think people. Okay. Do you find yourself craving for attention and praise when you wear new clothes? Now, again, I'm not saying here it's wrong to think like that, but do you crave always, sometimes, and all, or sometimes, you may not notice yourself that you're wearing something new. Sometimes is more. Never. There are a lot of people given never. Always. Few people are really honest here. That's very good. I'm glad to see some honesty here. Again, think of it like always is the highest mark, right? Sometime is in the middle and never is the lowest mark, right? Okay, we can go to the next. How do you feel if you find yourself taking advantage of someone for your benefit? It's quite, I mean, clear here that if you're taking advantage, it's not good. But what do you happen? Sometimes it happens. I mean, I think so. Again, I've seen some people are really giving honest answer, guilty. People feel guilty, uh, satisfied. I mean, that's people are like that. I mean, that again, it's honesty, here. Nobody knows what you have answered, so it's just for you. So if you feel satisfied, that is the highest mark. Okay, taking advantage of someone for your benefit, you're satisfied, your highest mark. Guilty is the lowest mark. Ignore my feeling, that's in the middle. Remember this. Again, this is just a fun game. Okay, we can go to next. How do you feel when you do not find your name in the student or employee of the month? Angry. Some people are honest, man. Angry. Neutral. Inspired to try again. Good to see good, honest answers. So people who are angry here, it's the highest mark. Okay. Remember this, that highest marks who all have gotten. Neutral is middle, and inspired to try again is the lowest mark. Okay. You can go to the next if there is another. Do social media likes give you a sense of happiness? Some I remember, and now Facebook is less popular. I think people are more on Instagram and all. But few years ago, when Facebook was new and very popular, people would change their profile picture just to see how many likes they get, and then they will talk about it. Oh, I just changed my social media profile and I got so many likes. And that used to be the talk of any meeting, party, and all that. And I think that some people really used to drive pleasure. Now channels may have changed, but media remains the same. So never, sense of happiness never is the lowest mark here again. Always is the highest mark. Sometime is there are boring people in the middle. I'm just kidding. So I think that's perhaps all we have. So remember the marks you got. The highest mark, in all questions generally was blue, lowest was red, and in between, because I'm going to show you the result, not your result, or what highest or lowest means here. Do we have another one, or we're done? So you can stop sharing then. So I'll just share what the results mean in this, okay? So if you got the highest mark in all of them, I mean, total highest, right? It means you should just sign off, leave this session and go and see a shrink. Shrink is a psychologist. I mean, really, again, I'm not judging you, but it means you have a serious problem of self-centeredness, borderline NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. And if you are lowest mark in all of them, then I think I should bow down before you. You're almost a saint. But if you're in between, then you're at the right place. And we can, you need to grow, and we can talk about that, ways of growing here. And I think that's, that's what those results mean here. And I hope you all know what you got. Now the question comes, what makes us self-centered? I mean, we say that, self-centeredness causes some psychosomatic disorders, and we also discussed about various scenarios of exhibiting self-centered behavior. And then we did a small quiz of how self-centered we are, right? Now, what makes us self-centered? Now, imagine a child. Child is born, and he cries every time he needs something. And every time he needs something, his only reaction is crying. Or when, let's say, we are 1, 2 years old, only thing we're doing is thinking about ourselves. Obviously, no, child doesn't know anything better. That is an instinctive behavior in a child. So one part of self-centeredness, that we're born with it. Child is the most self-centered person, but he doesn't know anything better. And that's the only thing he can do to gain attention, to gain what he needs, not attention, really, to gain what he needs. He needs to get his diaper changed. He's hungry. He wants to be fed. The only thing his instinct knows is to cry or to ask for it, only for about himself. The problem comes that we remain in that behavioral pattern even after growing up. So you understand, we are born with it and it's fine when we are little, but if we don't grow up, don't you hear people say, hey, grow up, man, right? I mean, you're often when we are exhibiting self-centered behavior, somebody may say, you need to grow up, right? That's what it means. That this kind of behavior was suitable when you were little, but not now. Because at that time, our relationship with the entire world, do you really think child knows who his mom and dad are? I mean, whoever takes care of the child are his near and dear ones. His relationship with the world is dependent or is purely based on his dependency on others. That is, in a way, a childish behavior, right? Where we are just dependent. Our relationship with others is only based on our dependency on them. So the first reason for being self-centered, we are born with it and we never grow up. Second is parenting. At some level, parents, I mean, over the last, I would say, few years, one level of psychologists have told people that if you scold your children, they will have low self-esteem. And that is also true. That's true. I mean, I'm not denying all those things. If you're all the time criticizing your children, all the time putting them down, they will have very low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and they'll grow up to be not what they truly are. But other side, that you're always praising them, always everybody is a winner kind of attitude, that's the other extreme, because that makes people always think about themselves. They are sheltered lives, right? And that's also bad. So parenting is responsible. The parents, I mean, if they are listening to this and if they can pay attention to some of these traits that I'm talking about, they can make correction in their behavior towards the children. Third is social conditioning. That is also very much part of it. I mean, I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I used to be an advisor to one of the venture forums, I mean, like a incubator where we would fund some startups. So there are a bunch of startups all at kind of same location. And all these young kids who had started new companies used to walk around always in their arrogance, especially if they got funding, right? Thinking they are going to be the next Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking a few years ago, those were in fashion. And Bill Gates was kind of going down at that time. Now, of course, in this Corona times, Bill Gates is considered. I mean, he's a good man and he's done a lot of good things. But coming back to that, so they all used to walk around as if they are going to be the next Steve Jobs. So much so that we had to hire an in-house psychologist, and he coined the term. Oh, all these are facing Steve Jobs syndrome, because they used to think, oh, they are the next big thing. They are going to be the next Steve Jobs, and they will not pay attention to anybody. They will not treat any of their employees well. And in fact, most of the people, they used to feel this problem that employees will leave them. They'll hire somebody, and the guy will leave them because they find this guy he's not to be treating me well, and then these guys will start feeling withdrawal and have psychological issues. And that's why the psychologists used to help them get over it. And every time I would ask him, hey, what happened? He say, oh, Steve Jobs syndrome. So social conditioning, where we worship success so much that everybody wants to emulate that, right? And everybody, so they start pretending they are like that. I mean, you're not Steve Jobs yet. If Steve Jobs behaved that way, perhaps that was, his prerogative. He may have had other problems, but at least the success was not his problem. I mean, success is what he created for himself. But how people start thinking of themselves to be that and behaving like that, that is out of social conditioning. So these three reasons, being born with it, parenting, and social conditioning, are very much, I would say, causes of self-centeredness in us. Now, conquering self-centeredness. We have talked about the problem and how we get it. But how do you conquer? How does one conquer? I really like this quote of Martin Luther King. An individual has not begun to live until he can rise above the narrow horizons of his particular concerns, individualistic concerns, to the broader concerns of all humanity. So that's where I think if you reread this yourself, I'll be silent. Right? If you have read it, I hope you have. So I think if you think about this statement, what it really means is there are two ways of really centering ourselves, or two ways of coming out of self-centeredness. One is to center ourselves to our inner center, and the other is expanding your inner center to encompass the entire humanity. I hope you are with me on this. To rise above self-centeredness, center yourself first, and then work towards expanding that center to encompass or to include the entire humanity. I know it sounds like a very tall order, but till you do that, you will remain, frog in the well kind of person. To me, centering oneself, there's a term we use quite often here. It says living on the edge. Think about two extremes: living on the edge, centering yourself. Living on the edge, think about a flywheel, right? That is there in the circus and other places. Where do you find the I would say the most movement? That is the external circle, the periphery, right? That's where living on the edge. You're always sitting in that flywheel at the edge, and the center, even though it is guiding the movement of flywheel, but always at rest. And that is the kind of condition we all need to create in ourselves. And one way to do that is through meditation. And I think many of you have known, I have talked enough about it, that meditation is one way to be able to create that feeling of centeredness in us. Now, the second thing I talked about, expanding that center to include the entire humanity. That is finding that purpose that you can be part of. Now, that could be something that meditation or years of meditation creates in you, or you can find that outside yourself. Now, many people, often get involved in the causes which are bigger than them just to really give back to society, give back to humanity, be part of something outside of you. I feel that's a very, very good way to rise above yourself, rise above your lower self, if I can call it, right? To rise above your self-centeredness, being part of a movement, being part of a humanitarian mission, being part of a local nonprofit, being part of your community, just feeding the poor, just helping children to learn, and all those things. And that's basically finding a cause that you can associate yourself with outside of yourself, because otherwise, sitting by yourself, you will always be thinking about yourself. Now, that is one reason. Remember my last statement. If you're just sitting by yourself, you only think about yourself. Why I thought this topic would be appropriate in today's time is because of the situation we are facing today. With the lockdown problem, with the locusts, with everything else, with the protests in US and everything that is happening around us, everybody's sitting at home. And according to the scientific study, that loneliness is the biggest cause of self-centeredness. In fact, they say they go hand in hand. Self-centeredness called loneliness, loneliness causes self-centeredness. They're in a loop. The guy is lonely, he's not thinking anyway, he's not going to think about anybody else, he'll think about himself, that even if he's with people, he's alone. So that kind of creates, that's the reason why we're talking about it. In today's time, people just start morning till evening doing work, morning till evening watching Hotstar or Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. I mean, they're not spending any time in thinking about the world, making world a better place, or making themselves better than what they were yesterday. So remember, there are only two ways you can really come out of self-centeredness. One is meditation, which means centering the self through meditation. Other is becoming involved in a cause outside of yourself, which is creating a better environment outside of you. So I think with this, I will, end my. I thought we can take some, you know, okay, maybe there's a couple of examples I wanted to give. These are some very nice examples of two companies did. Not we haven't done this and attempts yet, but look at these two examples if you can read. There's a company in Texas a few years ago. What they did was they asked every employee that before they come to work, they look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful 100 times before coming to work. Now, this is again based on the old study. They said, because if they say that, they say that I am beautiful or I am good, I am good, I am good. You may have heard in some movies also, seen some in some movies also. I am good, I can do it, I can do it, I'm a winner. So they'll be very motivated. And their company is not in existence anymore, by the way. They went bankrupt a few years ago because they created a bunch of self-centered people there. In contrast, a New York supermarket instructed its employees to begin their day by telling each other, you are beautiful. I'm sure you can tell the difference. Recognize others' beauty rather than your own. Accept that they could be more beautiful. Make them feel better. So it creates a better environment around you. And that company is one of the most successful companies right now, US. So these are two good examples of that. So again, I think this was the last slide. I mentioned that two ways you can rise above, find your center inside and expand that center to include the entire universe. So I think I will end my presentation here. Um, okay, let's take some questions. Rini, if you have some questions or any questions from the audience, you can type the questions and wherever you're watching this.
Right.
Go ahead,
Uh,
Rini.
Thank you very much for this wonderful talk, Sanjay. I'm sure the audience has their own questions. Before let me just ask some of my own. So, Sanjay, we've all seen you as a CEO of MSIS and an active philanthropist and a heartfulness practitioner. But what we want to know is how was Sanjay before all this? I mean, what was it that triggered your journey into meditation? Like, was there a turning point of sorts in your life?
Of course it was. And I must tell
Okay.
you, all the things that there's a ghazal of Jagjit Singh. He's one of my favorites. This is Suni
Mine too.
Sunai Baat Nahi Hai, Apne Upar Beeti Hai. I don't know
Right.
whether you guys are too young to. This very old ghazal of Jagjit Singh, Suni Sunai Baat Nahi Hai, Apne Upar Beeti Hai. Everything that I've shared here is from my own experience. I was perhaps one of the most self-centered persons I have ever known. I used to have anxiety. I used to get up in the middle of the night and just worried about myself. After I grew up in India, and when I was 23 years old, I moved to US. And that was the triggering point because we don't realize this behavior when you are in a greenhouse environment. And that is a problem with most of us. You know, it behavior is not bad. I mean, it's not kind of that you're facing, all the time, because such behavior when you are with your friends is appreciated. People make fun of each other, pulling your leg here, there. You forget about it. But when I came to US, I mean, I had all these traits, didn't realize them till I came to US. Here, I was uprooted from my greenhouse into a new environment, and all those things came back to haunt me. I
Hmm.
used to have all the psychosomatic disorders I'm talking about. And around that time, I found meditation. That day and today, I'm a different person. So that was a triggering point.
I see. So you're saying that we need a little push from our comfort zone, maybe that makes us realize that meditation is good
Yes.
for us.
Meaning, either you wait for that.
Uh-huh.
or do it without waiting for it.
Right, right.
Right.
I know.
I
Prevention
hope.
is better than cure.
Yep, yeah. I mean, you hope all these examples that I've shared will
Right.
give you this idea how much of it you already have, and if
Hmm.
you find that you are one of those, yeah, definitely
Absolutely.
you should meditation will help you, right?
Right, right.
I mean, I
That
said, as I said, no. If you're an extreme case, go to a psychologist. Meditation cannot help you, and if
right,
you are all kind of saintly type, perhaps you already are meditating. In between, yes,
right.
right.
Yeah. And so that also brings me to another very serious question, Sanjay. I mean, right now we are going through, a very, very unprecedented, a kind of crisis that we've never anticipated, never been through. Right. So this is a time when most of us see that, we are succumbing to something very, very dark. We're getting into a very negative zone these days. So, what, just a minute. So it may sound like a silly question, but is there a way that we can love ourselves without being self-centric? I mean, the whole session was about being self-centric, was not being self-centric. But I think at the same time, it is more important to even love ourselves. So do you think we can strike a balance there? How we can do that?
Now, that's a good question. See, um, an example that comes to mind is that we are looking for
Hmm.
a black cat in a dark room,
Right.
right? I mean, self love is something we already have. I mean, the black cat in a dark room actually may not exist. We are looking
Hmm.
for one. I mean, you may not find it, right? To me, self love is always there. And when we talk about meditation, centering yourself, that is actually first step of that is self compassion,
Right.
right? And it automatically comes to you. So it's not that meditation creates in you more love for outside. In fact, often people say that why should one meditate? Because it means you're only doing things for yourself, not for others. That's why I said there are two separate things. Huh? First, center yourself, and then I, in fact, will even suggest in that sequence. First, learn to center yourself before expanding your center.
Right.
Because this center will automatically expand if you meditate long enough. So that we'll take up in some other session. That where I mean, I'm a strong proponent of this. That uh, you cannot help others till you help yourself.
True.
Saying of Confucius: if you feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him fishing, right? So first
Yeah.
you learn.
Right.
First you learn yourself. Then only you can help others. Helping others is easy. You give a call to for people to donate blood, everybody will walk. But how many people are actually doing exercise so that they have more blood or a better healthy life, right?
True. True.
If you
Yes.
have healthy life, if you are fit, then you are in a better position to help others, right? I mean, that's in physical, it's very clear. Same thing in mental and spiritual realms. If you are stronger from within, you can help others better. So to me, then self question of self love will not come, because that's what you're preparing yourself. You're creating a better version of you through meditation.
Right. So we have a couple of questions here from our readers, Sanjay. The first one says that I work very hard, but I don't find success. So how does one get over disappointment?
See, you are perhaps looking for the success in your terms, success that you want. Instead, one of my mentors had told me a few years ago, instead of looking for job satisfaction, do your job satisfactorily.
Right. Well said.
If you can really do that, I can tell you, I learned, I still remember that was almost 25, 30 years ago. I learned this. To this day I remember that. And don't look for the success in your terms. Success in terms of somebody's recognition, success in terms of promotion. Just recently I was talking to one of our guy. I mean, I will not name the person. He was saying, oh, I have done this and this and now I deserve a promotion. I said, you will not get it as long as you think you deserve it.
Right.
Wait for others to recognize, appreciate at their terms. Then it's more fun,
True.
right? We
Yes,
just recently
yes.
in our company, I mean, many of you perhaps are listening are from MSIS or watching, they are from MSIS. We recently announced two promotions in our company. I must share this with you that neither of those two individuals ever asked me for that.
Hmm.
They never asked me for promotion, but I recognized their work because I felt they deserved it, and I'm sure that made it even more fun for them. You know,
Right.
more
Yeah, yeah.
satisfaction for them, right? So that's a thing. If things come to you like that without you expecting, you will appreciate them more, right?
True, true. Very true, Sanjay. We have a few more questions here. Another one's asked that what is a clear indicator of self-centeredness?
Clear indicator is you're thinking too much about yourself. To you, only you matter,
Hmm.
right?
As
That
simple
is,
as that.
I mean, I have given many self-centered. You come to a meeting, you're just more interested in what somebody has written to you on a phone, WhatsApp or this, or how many likes you got. I mean, I've given many examples. How many likes you got here? How many this? How you look in this dress? How? I mean, you're only to you. Only thing matters is you. You meet somebody and you keep talking about yourself. Oh, I have done this. I have done this. I do this. I do. These are all clear indicators. I've given enough example. We can share that mentee thing with you also. And every time you wear something new and you really want people to recognize it. Now, some of it is fine. Again, extreme form is that you want everybody to recognize it. You want a
Mhm.
very close friend to say, "Oh, you didn't notice that. We remember we bought this together, right? We went
Mhm.
there and we bought it. That's okay, But if you expect everybody to like you, everybody thinking that the whole world is watching you, to me, is a clear indicator of this self-centeredness. Perhaps that
Right,
I can summarize it like that: that you're always conscious and expect the whole world to watch you and recognize you.
right, right. I completely agree with you on that one. We have more questions regarding related to another one says that do self-centered person indulge in groupism? Is it a sign of being self-centered?
Not necessarily. I don't think groupism is, if he's creating groups
Mm-hmm.
just to satisfy his own ego. See, a group may be, let's say, for the purpose of joining hands with like-minded people for a good purpose, right? You may be creating a group. Then let me create a group to clean our road every day, as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clean our street every day. That is not. But if you're creating a group so that you can compete better with others, so that you can show to others that I am more powerful than you, or show to others I have more friends than you, then you know what you're talking about. You are
Right, there's
clearly
a
a self-centered
difference.
person. You want to satisfy yourself. Every time in a daily basis, you think how many times you are doing things to just satisfy yourself versus not your basic needs, not that going to toilet, drinking coffee. That's not self-centeredness. That is just you're taking care of yourself, waking up better and all that stuff. But if you are doing something just to satisfy something inherent in you, recognition, something you demanding, and it means. And simple way also, Rini, is if you have children, watch your children. If you're behaving like them, you're self-centered.
Yes, yes, that's the most clear example I think there is to understand self-centeredness. Correct.
I've seen, I mean, many households,
Mm-hmm.
if I may, and especially Indian households, the husband wants chai. Hey, kahan gaya chai? During tea, shouting. It means he's only thinking about himself. He can go and get it himself.
Right.
I
Yeah.
must share that with you. I just was before this started, I was having coffee. I made it myself. I can
Oh,
say that I don't do that.
that's the difference why you're speaking to us about this topic. All right. So moving on to another question, Sanjay. Somebody has asked, Sir, which one makes more self-confidence, yoga or meditation? I think what gives you more self-confidence? Is it yoga or
I think
meditation?
it is. I think both. I mean, or either. To me, I think meditation is not a whole lot different from yoga.
Mhm.
Though the form of yoga that we all are more familiar with is physical form of yoga, right?
Right.
And people think yoga is only physical exercises, but actual real meaning of yoga is union with higher self, union with inner self. So if you're doing a true yoga, then I think it's that is meditation also included. Otherwise, it's not. But if you're talking about, let's say, physical yoga and meditation, I will say meditation is better, in that, because it truly makes you should do both. I would suggest do
Mhm.
physical yoga for making your body better, and do meditation for making your mental and spiritual selves better. Right?
Okay. Okay. Good. So, another question is, how do we overcome negativity?
By thinking more positive things. I had shared yesterday. I was talking to some group of students. That again, it's a scientific study that every negative thought one has would require three positive thoughts in your mind to overcome. Because negative, inherently as human beings, we get pulled down by negative thoughts.
Right. True.
We get into the loops of negative thoughts. We
Right.
always, why do you think Lord Krishna had to say that famous shloka in Gita, Karmanyavadikarastu ma phaleshu kadachana, right? They always think about the karma, not about the result. Because perhaps he knew at some level, because not knew, he knew very clearly, because Arjuna also thought about negative things. He wanted Arjuna to move out of the negative thinking. That's why he had to say it. Sorry, I am taking the example from religion, but or from our scriptures, but perfect example that I
Right.
think negativity, only way to pull yourself out of negativity is have more positive thoughts. And
True.
again, meditation helps in that. Second is there are some other things I have done some other sessions about how to maintain a positive, or how to create a positive state of mind. I've given 2 3 exercises there that you could do. Think more positive, spread more positive. I think talk more positive. That is the only way to remove negativity. They say, how do you remove darkness? Bring in light. You cannot remove darkness,
Right.
you bring in
True.
light. Same way, you cannot remove negativity, bring in positivity.
Right. So we have another question that says, how does one extend the ego into something meaningful instead of suppressing it?
A very good question.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, but how does one do it? By
Deep.
doing it. I mean, no, no, by doing it. But I think that's so. I have always been or my conviction has been through years of involvement with heartfulness and meditation and all, is that ego is not bad. People often think ego is bad. But if your life is centered around ego, that is bad. If you can, instead of using your ego to just become self-centered or egocentric, you can use that to do things better for others. And unless you, I mean, when I suppose get up and I meditate, I'm not egoistic. I am making myself a better person. Somebody may say, well, that is also egoistic because you're thinking about yourself. That much thinking about yourself you have to do to live, right?
Right.
Ego is a tool. You can let it pull you down, or use it to get involved in the purposes which make you a much more centered and universally centered person. Same ego. If you go and let's say participate in some project outside, that is also you, right? I mean, you are doing it, but you're not doing it to get any direct benefit out of it. That, oh, I will be recognized, I will be this, but because you think you are suitable for the job. You know, my mentor often says that if you a doctor thinks he's a doctor or says he's a doctor, he's not being egoistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you pretend yourself to be more than what you are, pretend yourself to be bigger than what you are, that's when you're egoistic, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Agree.
Right? So it is using. I'm CEO of a few MCs, so I say if I'm CEO of MCs, that's not being egoistic, right? Now, how can I use that position to make others' life better? That is, I'm using in a way that's answer to your question, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. That's very clearly put, actually. We have another question here, and it is very interesting. And I think most people will relate to this question. How do we make our children get rid of the electronic gadgets, especially in the current situation of lockdown?
See, as parents, you have to take responsibility, I feel. And I must commend Geeta, those of you who know my wife, while we were raising our child, Suraj, in early days. Now he's a 24-year-old young youth, young boy. But in early days, we had very clear rules in the house that he would watch TV only for 30 minutes after finishing his homework. And that created two things in him. One is that he actually finished his homework. Second, he really used to look forward to those 30 minutes because that scarcity created that real that I mean that motivation in him. Like they say,
Hmm.
to create positivity you need to create a reward system. So that reward system really helped him a lot, right?
Right.
And now I think that habit has stayed with him. Even now I see, perhaps I watch more TV than him, or I spend more time on these electronic gadgets than him. And because I think he has that discipline has really helped him through his growing years. So I think you have to bring that discipline in them. Best way to bring discipline in them is being an example yourself.
True. Yes.
There is no, I mean, if you are all the time watching TV or stuck to these gadgets and not spending time with them, let's say,
Hmm.
I think most of the children these days are taking to resorting to these electronic gadgets because parents are too busy in themselves, talking to others on the phone themselves, their friends or their relatives, or or watching things on TV or this and that. This is what children see. If children see that, what else? What are they going to learn? So be an example yourself. Create some discipline and reward system. It's easier to train children than adults. That I can tell you.
Right, right. I agree with you. And I completely relate to the person who asked that question to a certain level. Even I'm guilty myself. All right. So moving on, Sanjay, another question is, can playing team sports reduce self-centeredness?
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely one of the ways they always encourage that. If you are a good team player, that's why they say no, or you're not a good team player. Now you
Mhm.
may be in a team, but still not a good team player. Then you would know. Somebody will tell you, right? If you're just sitting by yourself at home, nobody will tell you that you're self-centered, right?
Right.
But if you're in a team player, at least somebody will dare to tell you you're not being a team player,
I
right?
agree. Yeah. Uh,
Definitely. That's
so the next question is a little funny, actually. How to handle annoying behavior of self-centered people? For those of us on the other side of the spectrum.
well. I mean, see, you cannot really talk to them. If you tell them, they'll become very defensive, right?
Right. Yes.
Right. So maybe create meditation as a team sport. You say,
That's a good
hey, let's
approach.
create a group. Somebody asked about groupism and team. So combine those two things, huh?
Hmm.
So create a group meditation group in the office and make meditation as a team sport. And I think that way you can tell that person, easily. One
Right.
is that you have given him a tool to help him rise above that thing, and second is that you also have created a team sport, and it is good for you too. I'm just giving a funny answer in return,
No, but
but
this could work.
yeah, that is one way to make it work. But I think you cannot really tell a person who's because it doesn't happen. I think it is something that the person has to find himself somewhere. I mean, if you are very close to him somewhere, if suppose it's a spouse. I know over the years, I mean, I've been married for now, I better say the right number, and 28 years. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
28 years. And I mean, over the years, yes, I mean, it's not that behavior. I mean, I had that self centered behavior that led me to meditate. And it's not that it just went away like this. And you still exhibit that. And, your spouse is a good check on you. Sometimes, you didn't do right. But are you ready to listen to that person, right? If you
Right.
are, then it means you can, on a growth path, you can evolve yourself. If not, well, the God in His merciful ways has place for everybody on this universe. self-centered or not,
Right.
right?
Yes, yes, Sanjay. So the next question would be the situation of COVID-19 has confined many across the world into their home spaces, and many of them are staying all alone. So how can we not stress over school or home or work from home?
No, I mean it is. You can. I mean you have to. I mean you. I should say you would rather. You would stress over that.
Hmm.
But how long, right?
Right.
When yesterday to some group of students, I was talking about how to adjust yourself to new normal, right? Now
Yeah.
let's say if this is new normal till we have the vaccine, you have a choice. You can stress over it, sweat over it, crib over it, or you can be positive about it. I mean, I have done these couple of these sessions there. They should be there on YouTube and on Facebook. You can watch those. That I think the choice is your how to create that positive state of mind.
Right.
And you can remain negative, pull yourself down, right? And let stress kill you before the virus comes, right? Or you can have an attitude. They say, let us make sure every crisis is an opportunity, right? Let's not
Right.
go, a crisis go waste, right?
Right.
And
Right.
let's create this crisis as an opportunity for you to learn new things.
I agree. Yeah, that's another way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Sanjay, so the next question is, what is your opinion on the education system and parenting during COVID situation, the COVID-19 situation?
No, I mean, again, that's a very is something people are still figuring out, right? And work from home for at least companies like MSIS had
Hmm.
been around. I mean, it was not new to us. Many of us have done that multiple times. But for education for the children, I mean, where they used to either look forward to or not look forward to going to school. A friend of mine said something very interesting the other day about the schooling thing. He said, seems like God was listening to children. I said, how? He said, because he said children always pray to God that, ये छुट्टी दे दो हमको स्कूल से, स्कूल नहीं जाना पड़े रोज. Create a thing that आज छुट्टी हो जाए. I mean, growing up, we also used to think like that. Oh, I wish today teacher calls and school is closed, right? He said, God listened to them. Every day is a holiday now. They're sitting at home. Second, they said when every time they heard that the electronic gadgets are banned in school, right? In most of
Right.
the schools, electronic phones and all that are banned. So they prayed to God. I wish that they are not banned. So God listened to their wish, and now every class is being conducted online. So they are in front of the computer or phone all the time. So it means God is listening to them, right?
Yeah.
So actually,
Right.
on a lighter side, but serious side, I think it is it's going to be challenging because even if you have the computer, first of all, not everybody has the computer, internet, and phone and all that. I'm talking about the segments of society who don't have all these luxuries, right?
Hmm.
Second is that even if you have all these things, the teachers are not yet used to delivering the classes in a perfect way or in a better way online. I have, heard. I mean, we part of our NGO. We also run some schools, and we know that teachers have to be trained to deliver lessons online, or else, it will not be effective. And I think that is something that will happen eventually. I mean, that will be a new normal in a way. That in new normal, people would have to be trained to deliver these things in person or online.
Right.
Until that happens, I mean, the new generation will face, and then it more onus is on parents. See, there was a time. I mean, I remember we used to write in some articles that beginning of the year, in this year only, few months ago, that responsibility of teachers these days, school or teachers form the character of students, because parents, if both the parents working, they don't have time to form the character of a young
True.
child, right?
Right. I agree.
It's a change now. Now responsibility is more on parents.
Parents. Right.
Because if children are sitting at home, if let's say this kind of thing continues for another year or so, right?
Right.
Parents have to take responsibility. So I urge you all to rise above your self-centeredness to, if you are, especially if you're a parent, be an inspiration to your child so that he learns, you become a good role model for him or her.
Very good. That's a lovely answer, Sanjay. A lot to learn from that, just one answer alone. So, Sanjay, now we'll come to the last question of this session. And this very serious but a very, very relevant question. How to overcome loneliness and depression? Like we recently saw an incident where an actor killed himself due to depression. So, depression is definitely a real issue nowadays. What to do if one starts having suicidal tendencies?
I think in a case like that, the first thing I always suggest is talk to a psychologist, psychiatrist, right? And because I'm not a medical doctor myself, so I mean, it's very essential that you're under good care of that person. I think he will be able to tell you the right medicine and right way. That is, I think. But in general, to prevent such things, right? Everything that we have talked in today's session would help you. In fact, I didn't want to bring that up, but somebody brought it up via question. A few days ago, I heard about that incident, and incidentally, I must share with you, I am also alumni of the same college, DTU,
Oh,
right? And he went to the same college. I mean, of course, much later. He was 34 years old, and I'm 53 years old. So 19 years later, he was in that college, and very one of my favorite actors. And God bless his soul. And um, sad to hear what he went through. And I was thinking about that day when I heard that our session is very timely because everything we have talked about today.
hmm,
Actually, I tell you, if you have even 1%, 2%, 10% of those tendencies, listen to this again and again because people don't realize it can eventually kill you.
right,
And I'm not blaming him that he was self-centered. I mean, most of the people in the film industry have to be like that. It's a
right.
very cutthroat industry. We were talking about Steve Jobs syndrome. If you remember, we talked about startup guys. Startups are very cutthroat. I was talking as a funny thing, but actually I don't blame them. I have been a startup CEO myself, where I thought I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs myself. I mean, it is cutthroat unless you think of yourself to be that. You won't be able to behave like that. You won't be able to create that environment in you. Now, if I have to redo that, I will do it differently because there are better ways to doing it, and that's what I'm telling people. And I'm sure there are actors who can teach you there's a better way to be actor than being self-centered.
Right.
But we don't realize when we become self-centered, and we don't realize the self-centeredness becomes an extreme, and we get into depression, and then lead to one thing leads to another, and then sad things happen. How to come out of it? Two things we have discussed: find your inner center. Number one, expand that center to include the entire humanity. These are the only two ways I can think of. There's nothing else really.
Right.
Because
I
as
agree.
long as you're thinking about your lower self, why did I get this? Why didn't I get this promotion? Why didn't I get this movie? Why didn't I get this recognition? Why didn't I get this like? Why didn't I? They among the young people, Rini, they talk about two syndromes.
Hmm.
Earlier, I had thought it was only FOMO. Like people stay up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just looking at all the posts. Till everybody else in their circle has slept, basically. They call it fear of missing out.
Hmm.
They don't want to miss out on any post till everybody has slept, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they'll stay on Instagram till 2 a.m. I met some people like that. Some 20-year-old girl doing some internship somewhere. And she said, yeah, uncle, I stay up till 2 a.m. till all my
Really?
friends have slept. Fear
Okay.
of missing out.
Missing
And
out.
then there's,
Okay.
right? So then fear, FOMO, they call it FOMO, fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out on what is happening, right?
Right.
And then uh, they call it FOBO, fear of best option. They can't take a decision because they're always waiting for a better option. Fear of better option.
Oh.
I mean, people can't decide whom to marry. People can't decide which car to buy because they're always thinking about better option,
Yeah.
right?
All right. So, Sanjay, just I know I said the last question, but there are many people have been asking this. So let's just answer this one last. A lot
Okay.
of people have inquired where can they go for meditation. So please guide them, Sanjay.
So I think there are, you can Google search yourself and find, but some meditation that I have been doing for about 30 years now, and that has really made me what I am today. That is called Heartfulness. And you can go to heartfulness.org. Remember, it's single L, HEARTFULNESS, heartfulness.org. And you can find the nearest trainer. There is a section there called Find a Trainer near you. You can find a near trainer. And these
Hmm.
days, in fact, even I am a trainer myself in Atlanta. We all are doing these sessions online. So you can actually take from anybody in your time zone. But especially if you're from any of the big metros, we have about 13,000 trainers all over the world selflessly teaching people. That is the beauty of heartfulness. It does not cost you any money. It's a bit hard to do because it is most effective. They say easier things are not effective. I mean, something is easy to get, it means everybody has it, right?
Right,
And but it is a bit hard in the beginning, but if you stay at it, it is the most effective technique you will ever find, because it never, it will never stop surprising you on a daily basis. And I've been doing the same technique for 30 years, so imagine. And I think this is the best way you can center yourself any time of the day, anywhere in the world. You're sitting in a train, you can practice this meditation. Train,
right.
bus, or and I think that's the beauty of this. It's very easy to do, and it's easy to do, but requires practice. So that's the hard part. I'm preparing you. Be persistent with it. Find a
Mhm.
trainer near you, and then he'll train you well, and I'm sure you will all succeed.
Hmm. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions, people. Thank you so much, Sanjay. So we've been getting a lot of questions, but we've got to stop this session now. So apologies to everyone if we have not answered your question today. So we'd like to end here. Sanjay, thank you so much for being a part of this session, for conducting this session, basically. It is always a pleasure to listen to you, and you have some of the most relatable and deep anecdotes. But the beauty of it is they are very relatable, and each one of us can relate to what you're saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was Sanjay Sehgal with us, a CEO, a philanthropist, a meditation practitioner, but most importantly, a heartful and a mindful human being. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.